In 747 BC, a Nubian king named Piye marched north into Egypt and conquered it. He didn't loot it. He crowned himself pharaoh. For nearly 100 years, black African kings ruled the Nile from Napata to the Mediterranean. You were never taught this in school. There's a reason, and it's darker than the conquest itself. Here's who they were. South of Egypt, along the Nile in what's now Sudan, sat the Kingdom of Kush. Its capital was Napata, near a mountain the Egyptians themselves believed was sacred. By the mid-700s BC, Egypt was falling apart, fractured, ruled by rival warlords, so Piye, king of Kush, did something audacious. He invaded, not to plunder, to restore order. He crowned himself pharaoh of Egypt. His successors did too. Shabaka, Shabataka, Taharka, Tantamani. Historians call them the 25th dynasty. Most people have never heard the name. And here's the part that should stop you. These kings didn't just rule Egypt, they saved it. Temples had crumbled, rituals had been abandoned. The Nubian Pharaohs rebuilt them, stone by stone, reviving traditions even native Egyptians had let slip. Taharka expanded the empire from the Nile Delta to the edges of the Levant, fighting off the Assyrian Empire at its peak. And they built pyramids, not a handful, hundreds. Today, Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt does, over 200, clustered at Meroe and Nuri, steep and sharp against the desert, monuments to a black African dynasty that ruled the cradle of civilization and nobody put on the syllabus. Then it got stranger. In 663 BC, the Assyrians sacked Thebes and the Nubian Pharaohs retreated south, back toward Napata. You'd expect that to be the end of the story. It wasn't. Kush didn't collapse, it relocated. The capital shifted to Meroe and the kingdom kept going for another 900 years. 9 centuries, longer than the United States has existed. They developed their own writing system, Meroitic, a script carved into temple walls and royal stele that archaeologists can still read the sounds of today. But not the meaning. Nobody alive can translate it. An entire civilization left messages we can hear but not understand. But here's what doesn't add up. Walk into most museums with Egyptian collections and look closely at the statues from this era. Faces chiseled off, noses broken, cartouches scratched out. For a while, that damage got blamed on time, on erosion, on ancient rivals. Except conservators started noticing a pattern. The damage was deliberate, targeted, and it kept happening centuries after these pharaohs died, long after any political rival had reason to care. Someone much later wanted these specific faces gone. Not forgotten by accident, erased on purpose. Here's the buried why, and it's uglier than the conquest. When European scholars built the field of Egyptology in the 1800s and 1900s, they were also building the racial theories that justified colonialism. And those two projects collided head-on over one uncomfortable fact. The cradle of civilization had for 100 years been ruled by black African kings from the south. That didn't fit the story colonial Europe was telling itself. So the field quietly rewrote it. Textbooks relabeled the 25th dynasty an occupation, not a legitimate reign, a word never used for Egyptian-born pharaohs who did the exact same thing. Museum placards skipped straight past it. Some scholars argued, without evidence, that the Nubian rulers must have had lighter skin, must have been more Egyptian than African, because the alternative was inconvenient. The erasure wasn't an accident of history. It was a decision made by people who needed Egypt's greatness to belong to anyone except Africa. So what else got quietly edited out? If an entire ruling dynasty of pharaohs, real, documented, carved into stone, could get demoted to a footnote because it complicated a narrative, what does that say about the rest of what you were handed as settled fact? Ancient trade routes, migration maps, who invented what and where credit landed. History isn't just what happened. It's what got written down afterward by people with a reason to write it a certain way. Piye's face is still out there, staring out from temple walls at Jebel Barkal and Nuri, some of it deliberately smashed, some of it somehow untouched. And that Meroitic script is still sitting there too, thousands of words from a 900-year civilization, sounds we can pronounce and meanings we can't unlock. What were they trying to tell us?